Home prices are on the rise in Calgary, especially for single-family detached properties, and buyers are having a more difficult time than ever to find affordable properties. But what if I told you that you can still find affordable homes in the city that won't break the bank? And if you're curious where you can find these properties, stay with me. Now, if you are thinking about buying or selling, but you're not too sure where to start, feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to help you out, and you can do that by going to my website, ryangillard.ca. There's a link in my description, and if you're a buyer, just go to the top here, buy. I've got a mortgage calculator, so you can type in all of your details and figure out what the payments are. You can view all the listings. If you go to the About section, you can book a call with me, and you can actually pick the time that works best for you, and I'll make it work. You can also go to Contact Us and type any question that you have into here, and I'll get it and I'll get back to you. That's just right here. And if you are a seller, you can also go to this tab, Sell My Home. There's Sell My Home and Home Evaluation. They're both the same thing. You can type in your address and it spits out a number for you. Now, they're not always 100% accurate, but if you have a question as a seller, like roughly what your home is worth, reach out to me as well. Call, text, email, or this website app. I do them all the time, and I can do them fairly accurately and quickly. So feel free to reach out. I'm more than happy to help you out. All right, let's go. All right, let's get started. And I'm going to use the Calgary Real Estate Board's community map to make this a bit easier. They break the city down into different regions. Like the inner city is purple here. We've got the west side over here, northwest. And I'm just going to use single-family detached properties, and I'm going to use the median price. You can see here we have average price, benchmark price, and the median. I like the median best. It's directly in the middle. I think it's the most accurate. And so it looks like a lot. But I'm just going to point out the neighborhoods that I think are still affordable. And I'm going to start off with the inner city here, this purple section. And if you're looking for affordability, this is probably the neighborhood or the region that you're not going to find too many. This is a very expensive part of town for single-family detached homes. But there are a few pockets here. If you look at where are we here? Greenview, Highland Park might be a good area. If I pull it up here, Greenview median price $580,000. That's actually pretty good for all of Calgary, and definitely the most affordable part of the inner city. Highland Park, where are we here? Highland Park, $675, so a bit more expensive. And there are some other areas that you might want to look into. Where are we here? Tuxedo Park. Now this is an area that's going under heavy development, but you'll still find some old properties here that are fairly affordable in the 600s. Same with Ramsey and Inglewood. These will be really old properties, more useful for renovation projects. But these are just a few pockets of the inner city that you might be interested in. But overall, this part of Calgary for single-family homes is not that affordable. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this area. And moving along to the northwest, this is also an expensive part of Calgary. It's definitely above average. And there are just a couple neighborhoods, though, that I'll mention that are somewhat affordable. And the standout one would be Ranchlands, this neighborhood right here, and possibly parts of Bowness right over here. If I pull up those two neighborhoods, so Bowness, the median price, $690,000 for a detached home. That's pretty good in Calgary. But Ranchlands will be even cheaper, and Ranchlands average price $598,000. So those would be the standout neighborhoods in the northwest. You've also got Montgomery, $701,000, and a lot of these neighborhoods are kind of average price around $700 to $750. You can see Arbor Lake, $722, Brentwood, $710. Most of these neighborhoods are 700s and up, but those are the two that I would highlight would be Ranchlands and Bowness. And moving along, we have North Central Calgary, this teal section that you see right here. Now, this whole region, it kind of fits the average prices in Calgary. It's not high end, it's not low end, it's fairly normal. There's not too much going on here, in my opinion. If someone were to ask me if I were to buy a home in Calgary for, say, $650, would I take North Central over South Calgary? I would take South Calgary. I'm a bit biased. I grew up here in the Deer Ridge area. I just find it's kind of plain and ordinary, this whole region of the city. It's not bad again, but just very normal. And I think for affordability in this region, the most affordable properties or affordable areas would be Thorncliffe, Huntington Hills, Beddington Hills, and some of these ones here, Coventry Hills and Harvest Hills. It gets fairly new over here, but you can still find brand new homes in this chunk. I would say in like the mid 600s and up. But the most affordable would be down here in the south. And I'll just show you the stats here. So for north, Beddington Heights, median price 560,000, pretty good. Country Hills 583. You've got Coventry Hills 552. Then a bunch of these are in the 600s. You've also got Huntington Hills 564. And at the very bottom here, Thorncliffe 598. So again, this area is not bad. It's just very normal. But it's kind of plain Jane in my opinion. I don't like it as much as South Calgary. But that's just my opinion. It's definitely a decent area. Next up, we've got Northeast Calgary, this section right over here by the airport. The airport's right here. And this is an affordable part of Calgary. And the price ranges, it's fairly typical across the region. It's easier to point out the neighborhoods that are more expensive on average compared to the other ones. And that would be Homestead, Redstone, Cityscape, parts of Saddle Ridge, I guess. These areas are more expensive because they're newer. If you look at this chunk of the city, it's definitely way older, from like the 70s, 80s, I would imagine. Most of this region here is like in the 500s and 600s. I think it's crazy because before COVID, these areas were all like in the 300s. They've really shot up in price. And I'll point out here the stats. So for median price, you can see here most of these are in the 500s, 528, 548. Some of these I already mentioned are in the higher 600s because they're newer. The most expensive I see here is actually Homestead. Again, that's this neighborhood right over here. Brand new area, that's why it's a bit pricier. But a lot of these are in like the mid 500s or low 600s. This is definitely an affordable part of Calgary. Now, the Northeast does get a bad reputation. It's not that bad. I actually have a video specifically on the Northeast where I go over everything, and it might give you a bit more insight if the Northeast is right for you. I've lived in the Northeast in the past. It's not that bad. It's actually pretty convenient. There's lots of shopping, easy to get around. But it's definitely one of the more affordable parts of Calgary. And moving along to East Calgary, this green section that you see right here. Now, this area is not very big, and I'd say half of the green areas that you see are actually industrial and commercial. They're not residential, like these Starfield areas, Foothills. No homes here. So we're only talking about this newer part of Calgary, Huxley, Belvedere, Twin Hills, and this older part that you see right here. On average, this is the cheapest part of Calgary. So if affordability is what you're looking for, this is definitely the cheapest part of the city. And most of these neighborhoods, you can find single-family detached homes in the 500s. You can even find some properties in the 400s. Parts of this area, they do get a bad rap, like the Forest Lawn, Forest Heights. If you Google, like, worst neighborhoods in Calgary on Reddit, you'll always hear stuff about this part of the city: Forest Lawn, Forest Heights, Erin Woods. There are lots of good people here. I've sold many homes in this part of Calgary. It's not as bad as what you might hear. Again, it's Calgary. It's one of the richest cities in Canada, and it's not that bad of a place to live. It's just not nearly as expensive as other parts of the city. And I'll just show you the stats here for East Calgary. So you can see here, $492,700 for Erin Woods, definitely one of the more affordable neighborhoods in all of Calgary. And most of these, $532,000, $515,000, $575,000, most of this area, they're all in like the 500s. So if you're looking for affordability, definitely put East Calgary on your map. Any questions at all about a specific neighborhood here, give me a call. I'm very familiar with this part of Calgary as well. Next up is Southeast Calgary, this kind of gold section that you see right here. Now, before I get into it, I actually made a video specifically about Southeast Calgary where I go into every single one of these neighborhoods and show you what it looks like, give you some photos and videos and a rundown of each neighborhood. You can find that video by clicking the link that you see. Now, in terms of affordability, Southeast Calgary is kind of like your average prices and up. It's not super high end, it's not super low end. Now, there are pockets that are pretty expensive, but overall, this part of Calgary is I'd say it's more in your average price ranges, very typical part of the city. There's a couple neighborhoods that do stand out in terms of affordability. The most obvious one is Ogden, which I think should actually be part of this green section. It has more of that kind of feel to it than the other parts of this region. I think Riverbend is also a good spot in terms of affordability. I think it's a good neighborhood. It's got lots of parks and playgrounds, lots of schools and stuff like that, and it's not that expensive. It's easy to get around. You've got Deerfoot Trail over here. You've got Glenmore Trail right here. So easy to get around, lots of shopping. You have the Deerfoot Meadows Shopping Center over here. So I'd put a start beside Riverbend if you are looking for homes that are affordable. The rest of these, they get more expensive, but there are some other standout ones. I think Copperfield, New Brighton are not too expensive compared to like Mahogany and Auburn Bay. And looking at the stats for Southeast Calgary, you can see most of these are 600s and up. You got 744, 614, 700, 740. The ones that stand out are 573 for Ogden, and Riverbend is 590,000. Now let's talk about South Calgary, this kind of tan section that you see right here. It's a massive part of the city, and it's hard to break it down into like a few sentences to describe it. So I'll break it down into two different sections. This part over here, and then I'll talk about this section over here. So the properties that are near the Glenmore Reservoir, this section over here, are ultra expensive. You're not going to find too many affordable properties in this part of Calgary. If you look at areas like Acadia, Haysboro, Southwood, Braeside, Cedar Brae, you'll find homes here in like the average price ranges. They're not too expensive, not too cheap. I'd say you could also throw in Woodbine and Woodlands. It gets a bit more pricier when you talk about Canyon Meadows, Lake Bonavista, Willow Park, Maple Ridge. And this section over here, Bonavista Downs, Queensland, Deer Ridge, Deer Run, you can find some affordable properties in here, and I think it's a good place to live. I grew up here in Deer Ridge in Queensland. Lots of parks, lots of schools, and I think it's quite safe, and it's not that expensive. So I would put a star beside this area. Again, I think it's a good spot in Calgary if you are looking for some affordability. I've got a video specifically on Deer Ridge where I go into it in more detail, which you can find by clicking the link below. Now, this part of Calgary, it's not super high end, it's not low end, it's just kind of typical. You'll find homes here in the 600s and 700s. You can buy brand new homes in Willow Park, or Wolf Willow, in the 600s. So that could be a good option if you want to be in an affordable and brand new property. You are getting pretty far away from downtown once you get into the deep, deep south. Areas like Somerset, Shaughnessy, Millrise, Bridlewood, they're actually fairly affordable. Could be an option as well if you like to live in the deep south. They're not too expensive. Overall, the south part of Calgary, again, it kind of fits into the average price ranges. Most of these neighborhoods, you'll find single-family homes in the 600s and 700s. And then if you get into like the Queensland, Deer Ridge, you can still find homes here like in the 500s. They are getting snatched up though because there's still a lot of demand for single-family homes in Calgary. And last up is the west side of Calgary, this area right over here. Now this is like one of the most expensive parts of Calgary. You're not going to find much for affordability here. Only a few areas that stick out to me in terms of, fairly affordable homes. That would be Glamorgan, this neighborhood right here. You see a lot of like the old bungalows in this neighborhood. There are parts of Ross Carrick that are somewhat affordable, but they're all being torn down to make room for infills, which are quite pricey. I would say this area is like $800,000 and up. I'll pull up the stats for you. So you can see here, median price, 1.5 million, 1.2, 800s, 800. And if you look for Glamorgan, which you can see right here, the median price, $703,000, which is the cheapest that I can see based off the stats. So again, this is a very pricey part of Calgary. You're not going to find too many areas that are affordable. All right, we're done here. Now I covered the entire city fairly quickly. So if you are watching this and you are thinking about buying or selling even, and you have some questions about a particular neighborhood, feel free to reach out. Again, go to the About section, contact us. You can write your name and write your message, and I will get back to you. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.